back to Voorhees Channel 5 News at noon. I'm Audrey Heidemann.
And I'm Cameron Liss. Today is November 22nd, 1963.
We just received word of an assassination attempt against the President of the United States in Dallas, Texas.
Here is footage from Dallas of the scene.
We understand that was hard to watch. Here's more information about the President's trip in Dallas.
As scheduled, the President arrived today on November 22nd, 1963 at the Daley Plaza in Dallas, Texas. He started off his morning outside of the Dallas Hotel, and he delivered a speech on the importance of the nation being second to none in defense and in space, for continued growth in the economy, and the willingness of citizens of the United States to assume the burdens of leadership.
As a light rain was falling over the streets of Dallas, the President went back inside the hotel for breakfast at the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce meeting. As some of you are aware, he is in Dallas today for the purpose of campaigning. Back on November 12th, he held a planning meeting where he stressed the importance of winning both Florida and Texas. Although he had not officially announced his candidacy, it was clear he was going to run.
The President's route through Dallas today was planned for maximum exposure to the crowds, along with Vice President Lyndon Johnson and Texas Governor John Connally. This morning, he left the hotel through the crowds and got into his presidential limousine with his wife Jacqueline and Texas Governor Connally and his wife Nellie. The couple drove through Dallas en route to Daley Plaza. The Dallas Trade Mart was chosen for the location of the luncheon, and the route of the journey was chosen by Secretary O'Donnell. After leaving Dallas Love Field Airport, 45 minutes were given to reach the Dallas Trade Mart for only a 10-minute route.
3 vehicles were used for the Secret Service and police protection. The first vehicle was an unmarked white Ford hardtop. The second was a 1961 Lincoln Continental convertible, with the President and the other passengers aboard. The third car is a 1955 Cadillac convertible with an assault rifle 15 on board.
Crowds estimated at 150,000 to 200,000 people. At 12:29 p.m. Central Standard Time, Nellie Connally, the First Lady of Texas, turned around to the President and said, "Mr. President, you can't say Dallas doesn't love you." He replied, "No, you certainly can't." These were the last words spoken by President John F. Kennedy.
As the car turned onto Elm Street, 3 shots were fired from the right of the car. After the first shot was fired, United States Secret Service Special Agent Clint Hill jumped off the follow-up car, which was behind the presidential limousine, onto Elm Street, ran, and got onto the presidential limousine. Hill stated that after jumping off, he heard 2 more shots.
Mrs. Kennedy began to climb out onto the back of the limousine, and once she saw Agent Hill, she got back into her seat and held the President. At this time, the car exited Daley Plaza and sped to Parkland Memorial Hospital.
Now we wait for the word of the President's condition and word of the assassin. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We have received news that from Dallas, Texas, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, the President of the United States has died. Vice President Lyndon Johnson has left the hospital and will be sworn in to become the 36th President of the United States.
As you all know, President John F. Kennedy was killed a few days ago. Today, on Channel 2, Voorhees News, we are holding a memorial program to celebrate this amazing president, which we have lost.
John F. Kennedy was sworn in as the 35th President at noon, January 20th, 1961. In his inaugural address, he spoke of the need for all Americans to be active citizens. Here's an excerpt of his inaugural address.
In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. The address reflected Kennedy's confidence that his administration would chart an historically significant course in both domestic policy and foreign affairs.
Let's flash back many years. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was born May 29, 1917, in Massachusetts. His parents were Joseph Patrick Kennedy and Rose Elizabeth Kennedy.
In September 1941, Kennedy joined the U.S. Navy after medical disqualification by the Army for his chronic lower back problems.
That recovered during his presidency included the Bay of Pigs invasion, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, the establishment of the Peace Corps, the space race by initiating Project Apollo, the building of the Berlin Wall, the African American Civil Rights Movement, and the increased U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War.
President Kennedy's foreign policy was dominated by American confrontations with the Soviet Union. In 1961, Kennedy anxiously anticipated a summit with Soviet Premier Khrushchev. The president started off on the wrong foot by reacting aggressively to a routine Khrushchev speech on Cold War confrontation in the early 1960s.
On October 14, 1962, CIA U-2 spy planes took photographs of an intermediate-range ballistic missile sites being built in Cuba by the Soviets. The photos were shown to Kennedy on October 16th. A consensus was reached that the missiles were offensive in nature and thus posed an immediate nuclear threat.
Now we will cover the funeral of our late president. A requiem mass was held for Kennedy at the Cathedral of St. Matthew the Apostle on November 25, 1963. Afterwards, Kennedy's body was buried in Arlington National Cemetery.